But we have breaking news here to start today's show. Heat guard Terry Rozier appeared in federal court, and we will get to that momentarily. But I'm joined here on set. I'm in for Malik Andrews, Mark Spears, the Hall of Famer, Monica McNutt, and, of course, Bobby Marks. So before we get to the Terry Rozier situation, I'd just be curious to get kind of your thoughts, Bobby, on just kind of where all that stands at the moment.
Yeah, listen, he went through in Raymond today in Brooklyn here. I think, and we're going to talk about it throughout the show here, I think there was some lingering questions as far as the non-court situation here, as far as the ability of Miami to be able to use him in a trade. What happens as far as the trade that happened 2 years ago? There's been questions as far as what was disclosed and what was not disclosed here. So there's a lot of questions that still have to be answered as far as besides the criminal situation here for Terry Rozier.
Okay, and we'll hear from Ryan Smith certainly momentarily. But let's get into the action last night in Philly. LeBron back in action, ready to go for another round in Philly. Sixers rocking their all-black hardwood classics. As you see Maxey there.
That's such a good uniform.
Yeah. Let's flash back to November 2003. It was LeBron 2 weeks into his NBA career playing against Philly. And you see him there against those throwbacks. Now let's get to Sunday night, first quarter. LeBron flying down the lane for the tomahawk, Monica.
Turning back the hands of time. Look at that. Sync it up.
Wow.
Wow, that is impressive. That really is.
Now let's get to Luka. Daddy Luka's back in the house. Recorded his 49th career 30-point triple-double, now only trailing Oscar Robertson for most in NBA history.
Is that what you call him, Daddy Luka?
That's what I'm calling him now. Fourth quarter, Sixers down 4. Tyrese Maxey in action here. Gets the midi. Philly within 2.
Be nice.
A few minutes later, Luka showing off the mid-range. LA back up 4. 4.5 to play. Lakers up 2. Luka finds LeBron. Hits the deep 2. Foot on the line. Minute and a half left. Philly down 2. Joel Embiid goes to work. Free throw line jumper is pure. Game tied at 105. Then it's Bron time. LeBron, contested 3. And then, after an empty Philly possession, LeBron, again, step back. You got it.
Okay, young fella.
James finished with a season-high 29, also added 7 rebounds, 6 assists. Lakers get the win. Here's LeBron after putting his crown on after the game.
All right, last one. Did I see a finisher and a crown celebration on that last one?
Absolutely. I messed it for the first time in my life.
Needed to.
Yeah, I needed to. I had that moment.
That was vintage Bron, so, we're happy he was there to save us. He had an amazing game, obviously amazing fourth quarter. I think it was 2 or 3 baskets was insanely important for us. So he just decided the game.
So I've had so many of those moments there. It never gets old, and, that's the one thing you won't be able to get back when you're done playing is that arena. That excitement of going out and either the excitement or the boos and the cheers or whatever the case may be, you'll never be able to get that back once you're done playing.
All right, Mark, I'm going to start with you. What did the old man show you last night?
No, previously on NBA Today, I said he's a man and he's not a machine, and perhaps we're seeing some chink in his arbor. Boy, that man was Drago'd last night,
Yep.
man. I mean, that was vintage LeBron. He was amazing. And the good thing is when you have Daddy Luka, as you called him.
Oh, my gosh.
Austin Reeves.
Perk called him Skinny Luka, so I'm calling him Daddy Luka.
Fair enough.
This is going to be one of the greatest third scorers the league has seen. I mean, if that's your third scorer, and he could do that on when they need him to do it. But the good thing is he doesn't have to do that all the time. So to me, it was nostalgic seeing him back in Philly. And the million-dollar question is how much longer does he have? But when he's in Philly, when he's in New York, when he's in Chase Center, it's always going to be extra cool to see him in those games.
Monica, you're on the West Coast. What do you think of the team that is the most beloved on the West Coast.
Okay, here's the thing. To Mark's point, if you got somebody that's putting up triple-doubles casually, a la Luka Doncic, you have the opportunity to turn back the hands of time in spurts. Do I expect LeBron to average sort of this productivity, that efficiency from the three-point line over this season in season 23? Probably not. But to Mark's point, he's in a position now where you look at the attention that Austin Reeves is garnering. You look at the attention that obviously Luka Doncic is garnering. He just has to pick his spots. And when you look at it, some plays from last night, this is Austin Reeves operating in that pick and roll, right? There's LeBron. It's a give-and-go situation. The defense actually probably for the first time in however long almost loses track of LeBron James, and that allows you to set up for this easy play at the rim. That's a high flyer. He's always been a terrific facilitator. We know that about his game, and that has stood the test of time. Same thing here. You decide to leave LeBron James covering the pick and roll or the screen action? Like, I think for me, he is taking advantage of his teammates, the attention that they garner, and we all know his basketball IQ is outstanding, so he's going to be able to find his spots.
I thought him being out the first month of the season was probably the best thing for LeBron. And, of course, he has mentioned it as far as getting his lungs back, as far as getting back into shape here. I think it's basically going to prolong him this year as far as the level of play. And you can look back before that game and what he did in Toronto and certainly struggled. And the scoring streak was snapped the next game here. But the fourth quarter last night was vintage LeBron. Remember, this is a player that shot 7 of 26 from 3 prior to last night. Last night, 4 of 6 from deep. And I just thought you saw a little bit more fresher. I thought the legs were there. And as you can see, that last play, backing down Quentin Grimes. Yeah. People were saying, wait a minute, that's an offense. Wait, no, he's just bigger.
Yeah.
He's just bigger and stronger here.
Yeah. Well, he also told Mike Trudell in the postgame walk-off, I was watching it, he said he's got his legs, right? He felt fresh. And it was the first time he had felt that, it seemed like, or at least he had implied that was the case for the first time this season. So good stuff from LeBron for sure. All right, we have breaking news again here. As I mentioned earlier, Heat guard Terry Rozier appeared in federal court this afternoon in Brooklyn on charges that he helped gamblers placing bets on his performance in NBA games while he was a member of the Charlotte Hornets. Rozier has denied any wrongdoing and is currently on leave from the NBA. ESPN legal analyst Ryan Smith joins us now. Ryan, can you walk us through what exactly is happening with Rozier's arraignment today, or what has already transpired?
Yes, George, he's already pled not guilty in this case. What happens is he went into court today. The judge had him in there, identifies him. He pleads not guilty. They confirm his bail, his bond positions, things that he has to do while he's out on bond. And this is the official tip-off of the case. So now we can get started with moving his case forward to the court system. And that's what happened today. That whole thing takes 20 to 30 minutes. But the big news is Rozier pleading not guilty.
So, Ryan, what's next for Rozier and what's at stake as the process plays itself out?
So what's next is they're going to have a status conference. The defendants in this case are all going to get together with the judge. They're going to talk about the next steps in terms of timing. When is discovery going to be provided, which is a big deal in this case because it allows the defense to see what the prosecution has on Rozier and these other defendants. And then it's about trying to figure out how the case moves forward. Now, you talk about what's at stake. There are 2 charges here. Conspiracy to commit wire fraud and conspiracy to commit money laundering, and each carries a maximum of 20 years in prison if convicted. Now, that if convicted, it's not necessarily that he would see that much time, but I think the key takeaway is it is prison time in this case, and that's why what he finds out in discovery will be so important so his defense can start trying to figure out how to fight these charges.
Wow. Well, we'll certainly keep a close eye on it. Ryan, thank you for the time. Appreciate it.
Sure thing, George.
So today, Terry Rozier was arraigned in federal court for his alleged participation in a betting scheme. On March 4th, all defendants are due back in court for a case status update, including Chauncey Billups. And next September is when U.S. District Judge Ramon Reyes will start the trial. All right, here's our big 3 as we get back to basketball. Big plays from the weekend.
You got hot.
Modest Bazelis. Check out this.
Hey.
Oh, hello.
Oh,
Back to
man.
the dunk
Probably one of the few good
contest.
scenes in Chicago.
Okay, Bobby. Because I was like, what happened in this game again? That's okay. We'll just enjoy this highlight.
All right, next up, Beef Stew.
Okay.
Isaiah Stewart.
This is the 5th?
Saturday night against the Bucks. Watch this. Kevin Porter comes in. No way.
Not today.
Rejected.
Ooh.
Look at that.
A collision. Meet me at the summit.
A lot of position for Defensive Player of the Year for Beef Stew.
Well, how about this guy for Defensive Player of the Year? Amen Thompson on Saturday night. AD, watch this, gets the ball deep in the post. Look how Amen Thompson, look at him traveling here. How much distance he has to cover. Wow. See ya. Ooh. The block on AD. You don't see a lot of people blocking AD.
He's about as incredible athlete you'll find in the league.
I'm saying, great family too. Shout out to the Thompson family.
Yeah,
No doubt. So, congrats to Amen there for being number one. All right, still to come, we have some emerging powers in the East. Bobby Marks is here to give us our power ranking, or at least our top 5 in the East. Plus, scorers Franz Wagner's MRI showed a sustained high left ankle sprain, but thankfully no structural damage to his left leg. This type of injury typically has a time frame of 2 to 4 weeks. Wagner left the game in the first quarter, as you see there, against the Knicks after coming down hard on his left leg going up for a dunk. The Magic's trio of Banchero, Wagner, and Suggs have played just 17 games together since their start of the 24-25 season, with all 3 players missing significant time due to injuries. Let's check out how the rest of the game went at MSG yesterday. There you see Jalen Brunson and the Knicks hosting the Magic. Late in the first quarter, Brunson knocks down the J. Monica?
Yeah, Jalen Brunson is really, he's been up and down with his three-point shooting this year, but he had a good showing last night. Overall, I thought the Knicks did a really good job of moving the basketball. Josh Hart, in particular, has been a bit of a vision, if you will, from the three-point line, especially in the month of November, since the month of November, I should say. OG Anunoby in his second game back after that hamstring. Excellent showing for him.
What was that, though, Desmond Bain?
Trying out for dodgeball, too.
That's what I said, Bobby. The craziest thing was right before the timeout, right before this happened, our radio producer was like, something's going to happen in this game because you could feel the tension.
Yeah.
Now, thankfully, this was it.
Yeah.
But, yeah, it was just the tension.
Mike Breen said he threw the ball like he was Nolan Ryan on the broadcast. I thought was hilarious. There they are hugging it out afterwards, though, which is nice. All right, Celtics against the Raptors. Celtics going for their 5th straight here. Ooh. Sam Hauser to Walsh, cleaning it up.
I like that kid. I like Jay
Under
Walsh.
the radar.
Yeah, I like
He's
him a
been
lot.
Really good defensively, really good this year.
Jaylen Brown on the step back 3. Celtics up 20. Brown had 30 in this one. 8 minutes left in the fourth. Brown almost loses it, but Derek White knocks it down. Scores tied at 102. Less than 4 minutes left in the game. Celtics lead by 6. White, another 3.
This Celtics team.
White with 27.
What'd you say, Spears?
They got a lot of heart.
Celtics extend their win streak to 5. Even with Jason Tatum out, the Celtics still have the second best offensive efficiency in the league this season and are averaging the most made three-pointers per game with 16 a contest. The Bucks came into Detroit on Saturday with 15 straight wins in the Motor City. Let's get right into it here.
Really?
Yeah, Bucks try to slow the Pistons there. But here's what you see. Isaiah Stewart.
This is a funky angle. Okay, here we go.
Watch this. Corner 3. And here's Stu at halftime of this game.
Isaiah, Milwaukee throwing their zone at you guys again here tonight. How are you guys trying to break that down?
Just break it. It ain't really a hard zone. We just got to move them around. It's a grown man game. They out here playing zone. They don't want to match up against us.
Second half, Pistons up 10. Cade Cunningham cuts to the basket, slams it.
They don't want that matchup. Beef Stew, we heard you.
Cade finished with 23 points, 12 assists. Pistons win 124-112. All right, the East feels wide open, okay?
Yeah.
Maybe even more so than the standings show. If I recall correctly, I think 3 through 9 are separated by like a game and a half. It's pretty wild out there in the East. So, Bobby, sort it out for us.
I feel like I was the college football football committee as far as how we were looking as far as how we rank this, because somebody's going to be left out of the top 5 here. But I think certainly when we're looking at the top spot, it's got to be Detroit. 19-5. They've been the best team in the first quarter mark of the season here. Number 2, the New York Knicks. I think if New York could play all their home games at home, they would be at number 1 right now when you look at them at 13-1. Number 3, and this is going to surprise people, the Boston Celtics.
Okay,
Gap year, what gap year?
Yeah.
When you look at no Tatum, Porzingis, and Holiday, Jaylen Brown, 32 points in his last 5 games. Now, here's where it gets a little bit complicated here.
Here we go, Bobby.
Number 4, I got to put Toronto still there. I know they've lost 3 in a row right now, but they're 15-10.
Okay.
The Raptors at number 4. 5 is basically flip a coin, and I'm going to basically base it off a little bit of last year. Cleveland, 14-11 here, but they've been so inconsistent this year. I don't know kind of who they are right now, but we could talk about Atlanta, Orlando, Philadelphia, Miami, who's lost, I think, 3 or 4 in a row here. But as you could see, this Eastern Conference is wide open, but I do think it starts with the Detroit Pistons at number 1.
I mean, they're playing great basketball, Monica. The Knicks are right there, obviously, and the Celtics a little bit of a surprise, I think, to some, along with the Raptors. But the Eastern Conference, everybody knocked it, Mon, in the offseason.
Yeah.
But the Eastern Conference is tight right now.
You're right. So I like this list, Bobby. I don't know. I'm most curious about, for me, the Raptors, how sustainable this is. I think R.J. Barrett just has a knee injury thing. He's going to be out for Tuesday's game versus the Knicks. The thing with the Celtics, though, to me, I'm with you. I think in the offseason, everybody was like, oh, Jason Tatum. And don't get me wrong. Excellent, powerful, Olympian, all the things. But it's not like that team was completely decimated without talent. And the Knicks were just there. Matter of fact, these are the highlights. I will say that game clearly had a revenge feel when the Knicks were in Boston, considering what the Knicks did last year during the postseason. But Jordan Walsh is flying under the radar. Derek White has sort of been up and down in terms of his confidence, but obviously had a really good game the other night. I think Jaylen Brown has taken this responsibility to kind of keep this team on the track in terms of what they're accustomed to in Boston. And, of course, Joe Mazzulla is a madman, so I knew that this group was still going to play hard and put their best foot forward.
We got to put respect on Jaylen Brown's name, man. Like, he was the MVP of the finals 2 years ago. It's forgotten. He's averaging almost 30 a game. No one's talking about it. He's been incredible. They lost all these guys. Joe Mazzulla's doing a fantastic job. And this is a Celtics team that started off slow. They don't have Jason Tatum. But, hey, I'm just, like, the way they're continuing to play, the way their camaraderie is getting, and other guys are starting to come around. What are they going to be in April, March, if Tatum could come back? And I know I said something. People were mad at me when I said that he might be back late in the season based on the source I had. I don't know, man. If he's back, this wide open East thing might be a lot different.
Not as wide open?
It'd be the biggest non-traded team can make.
Right.
When you add a player off the injured list like him. But they've been able to sustain it, and usually you get an idea as far as who a team is after 25 games here. I'm not saying they're going to be a 50-win team, but this team competes every night. And if you can compete every night in the Eastern Conference, you're going to hang around 3 or 4 in the East.
Yeah.
I still like the Pistons. I got you,
Of course,
Detroit.
of course.
Detroit basketball.
There was nothing to argue there, though.
A show, Miami Heat guard Terry Rozier has pleaded not guilty to charges he helped gamblers placing bets on his performance in NBA games. The 31-year-old point guard formally entered the plea during his arraignment in Brooklyn federal court earlier today on federal wire fraud and money laundering conspiracy charges. We now say hello to ESPN senior writer Tim Bontemps, who released an FAQ column this morning on ESPN.com. Tim, while so much focus remains on the legal case, what's flying under the radar here from a league perspective?
Well, yeah, George, the story I did with Bobby Marks today lays out a couple of things that, from a basketball perspective, matter to the NBA over the next couple of months. The first is the dispute over the way the trade went down between the Heat and the Hornets that brought Terry Rozier to Miami back in 2024. Now, typically when teams go through a trade process, they have to do a disclosure process as part of the trade call with the NBA. And during that trade call, the Miami Heat were never told at any point about the investigation the NBA had into this suspicious bets that were placed on Terry Rozier's unders in that game against the New Orleans Pelicans back in 2023. So when they made that trade, they were not aware of any of this stuff that happened. It only came out later when the Wall Street Journal reported it this past January. So the Heat are upset about that and the fact they were not made aware of that during that process. Now, the second part of it, George, is now that Terry Rozier is on the team, and Terry Rozier is currently on indefinite leave away from the team as this legal process plays out, can the Heat trade him between now and the trade deadline to try to bolster a roster that has been one of the more surprising ones in the Eastern Conference and has them in the top 4 in the East, with Eric Spoelstra potentially winning Coach of the Year this year and giving them a chance to make it back to the NBA Finals. So, again, while the legal process for Terry Rozier is one thing, there's a couple of basketball elements of this story that make it relevant to the NBA and will have it be relevant potentially for the next couple of months.
All right, now let's ask Bobby about that. So, Bobby, the trade deadline's about 2 months away. So how does all this uncertainty impact what Miami can do?
Well, there's a couple of things. I think certainly the Rozier contract in itself, which is roughly $27 million, that's an expiring contract that can be used in a trade, and that is certainly in limbo right now as far as the ability to go out and do something like that. Then there's the draft pick part of it, where Miami still owes Charlotte a top 14 protected first in 2027. It's unprotected in 2028. They're only allowed to trade 2 first-round picks right now. If you had that pick back, you'd be able to trade 4. I think the one thing that Tim had mentioned regarding the disclosure part of it, when you're on a trade call, you have to disclose medical, insurance, contract, basically anything that would prohibit a player from being on the court. Now, there's a gray area here with this situation where the league at the time found no wrongdoing with Terry Rozier, but having been investigated before in my time in Brooklyn, the one thing the NBA does say is that it's never closed. The investigation is never closed. It is always open-ended here. So if you're Miami, you're saying, wait a minute, we should have been known that this investigation had occurred.
Well, to Bobby's point, the key parts of this for this discussion moving forward and for the Heat situation moving forward revolve around the draft pick the Heat sent out in that trade and Terry Rozier's $26 million expiring deal. Now, as Bobby said, they can only trade 2 picks in 2030 and 2032 because of the way their draft pick going to Charlotte is set up. So that does really limit them if they want to go try to make a big swing between now and the trade deadline. And part of the way they would make that big swing, at least potentially, would be is if they include that $26 million expiring contract for Terry Rozier. Now, the fact that Terry Rozier is still on the roster and has not been waived, I think is certainly at least an indication that the Miami Heat, as we reported, believe there's a chance that they'd be able to use him in that kind of a trade. And there is a precedent for that. If you go back to a year ago, the Houston Rockets, after Kevin Porter Jr. was arrested in a totally separate matter, he was traded to the Oklahoma City Thunder a month later, and they subsequently waived him off of their roster. So there is a precedent for this kind of thing taking place, and certainly for the Heat to be able to go into the trade market over the next couple of months and have a very large expiring to go with some other big contracts on their books, that puts them in a position with the draft picks they do have to potentially go big game hunting. But the results of all of this stuff will certainly have to play out, and we'll see what it means in terms of what flexibility the Heat have between now and February 5th.
Tim, thanks for the time, brother. Appreciate it. All right, so we'll keep tabs on that. The defending champs are smoking hot, literally. Thunder taking on the Jazz without SGA. The Thunder start the game smoking hot here. Thunder hit in the first quarter, the most in any quarter in franchise history, as well as most by any team in a quarter this season. And the Thunder are just getting warmed up.
Going up and coming down, that's for sure.
Let's go early second quarter here. J-Dub finds Chet for the dunk. J-Dub had 25 and 8. A minute later, Cason Wallace throws it up to Holmgren. Here it comes.
Oh,
Thunder so hot, they're causing smoke off the stanchion, literally.
jeez.
Holmgren with 25 and 9.
Oh,
Thunder go on.
Soccer, just keep going.
that is
Smoke the Jazz by 30.
Running clock.
jeez.
Thunder may be even better than last year, as they're 4 games better than they were through 24 games last season, and are outscoring teams by 4 more points per game, which is pretty impressive since they set the all-time single-season point differential record last year. And the Thunder are scoring 5.4 more points per 100 possessions than the vaunted 2015-16 Warriors did during their all-time best 24-0 start to begin a season. And with 1 more win, they would match the 73-win Warriors' 25-game start, as, of course, Golden State lost game 25. Speaking of the Dubs, let's check in on Golden State's weekend. Warriors visiting the Cavs. Pat Spencer gets his first career start.
He's him.
Who's Pat Spencer again? For those that don't know,
It's a great story.
number 1 pick in 2019 in the PLL, the Premier Lacrosse League, all-time Division I assist leader during his 4 years at Loyola University, and an award-winning, Heisman Trophy winning, basically. It's called the Tewaaraton Trophy, which is like the Heisman for lacrosse. Fast forward, Spencer, catch and shoot here. Nice ball movement. He drains the 3. I mean, Dude can ball, no matter
Yeah,
what
he
sport
can.
it is.
Yeah, he can.
And he wears 61, probably the first NBA.
Now he seals the game with a free throw. Spencer waving goodbye after that to the Cavs crowd. Wow. Here's Steve Kerr after the game.
I think the other thing is that his coach realized that Pat is that. You know, I think that's that became clear. Sorry. Am I allowed to say that?
Yes, you did, Steve. Hey, Jimmy Butler made his return from injury versus his former team, the Bulls. Pat Spencer got his second career start. Spencer starting in place of Kuminga. Spencer on the drive. Fade away. Nice jumper.
Get that jersey in the store.
Wow. Fourth quarter was Jimmy time. Gets the easy lay in there. Next possession down, Jimmy. From three.
I mean, where's the defense on
That does not exist in the Windy City. Apparently.
Warriors win. Here's Steve Kerr on the Jonathan Kuminga situation.
Just got to keep going, just like everybody else who's in this position. And it happens to everybody, you know, pretty much, other than the stars. You know, guys come in and out of the rotation depending on, you know, who's available, how the team's playing.
I think we just switch certain things. Yeah, that's all. As long as things are working out there and we're winning, I don't see the point of switching anything, changing. So whenever my number get called, I'll be ready.
So it seems like Jonathan Kuminga is saying all the right things, but
Yes, you're right.
how big a deal is this DMP?
Free JK. Free JK. You can see it in his eyes. He's trying to be professional. I mean, it's still several weeks away before he's eligible to be traded, and it's just started off so well. He averaged 15 points and 7 rebounds the first 12 games. Then he got hurt, and just like last season after he came back from injury, just doesn't mesh well with the Warriors. Obviously, it's going to be a couple weeks till he's eligible to be traded, but I know the Sacramento Kings are still interested. They threw Monk at it before in the first, but I don't think that first would be available anymore. But now Kuminga's at a number at $24 million where, you know, perhaps they could get a better player or they're going to have to get a bigger name player probably than before because of that number. So that will help the Warriors out.
Bobby, where is his trade value now as compared to over the summer?
Yeah, I mean, it's still mixed. There's a faction of teams that really like him just based on his athleticism and his upside and as far as filling a need from a front court big wing here. I think it's going to be interesting to monitor. He's eligible to be traded starting on January 15th. His contract rate is around $22.5 million. I think the big question for me is what happens if there's a deal not of the Warriors' liking if they don't make a trade by the February 5th deadline and he's still on this roster past that. What is going to be the internal dynamics of it? He's saying the right things right now. 2 months from now, if he's still on this Golden State roster and his role is still the same here.
See, that's the thing. The role to me, like you go through last night's box score, you obviously had no Curry, no Green, like, and you see Kuminga. So like, I hear you. To a point, you are a professional, but then you get to a place where you could professionally say, this is no longer a good fit on my end either, and we would all be looking and watching because there was a point last season when they were trying to stay afloat where you needed the productivity of Jonathan Kuminga, and he was able to step up.
You know, and it's interesting hearing Steve Kerr talk, and this is a Warrior roster that had been taken on water here with their injuries here, and you're putting out the players that you think are the best that can help you win games. But him talking about Jonathan Kuminga felt like it was Jonathan Kuminga's rookie season. I mean, this is a guy that's been on your roster already for 4 seasons.
But this has been an ongoing battle for the last 2 or 3 for sure.
Yeah.
So anyway, coming up, Chris Paul in Charlotte, where Jamal Murray dropped 34 and Nikola Jokic added 28 as the Nuggets won their 10th straight road game, setting a franchise record. Denver's always been known for the home court advantage, but Mark, how surprising is the road success?
Not surprising. I mean, this is a team that to me is the Thunder's biggest threat. Jamal Murray is on a tear. He's 30 points and 7 rebounds a game over the last 7. He's averaging a career-high 25 alongside Joker. And maybe we need to start talking about giving him his first All-Star appearance on this international team.
Maybe. We'll see if that happens. It should happen for him at some point. Next up, Darren Peterson made his return to the court Sunday for Kansas. The top NBA prospect had 17 points in 23 minutes as the Jayhawks got the W against Missouri. This was Peterson's 3rd game of the season. Bobby, what are your thoughts?
Well, the one thing that stood out for him was 0 turnovers in this game. He had 3 and previously against North Carolina. I think the one thing I would be a little bit concerned about, he settled on some of his shots. He took 9 threes, but when he's attacking the basket, he is as good as any college player so far, but still a long way to go in this college season.
Yeah, he looks the part for sure. Congratulations, Sue Bird, on having your number 10 jersey retired at UConn, where she was part of 2 national championship teams. And UConn was 114-4 with Bird in the lineup.
Is crazy.
Gino Auriemma called Bird the greatest point guard ever in women's college basketball. Monica, where does she fall on your list?
On my college list or my pro list? I mean,
either one.
She's high. She's one of the greatest to do it ever. She's obviously a Hall of Famer. She won 4 WNBA titles. Of course, we're just looking at her slice of her basketball career in a Huskies uniform, but it extends way beyond that. And of course, now the work she's doing around women's sports media.
Yeah, shout out to Sue. All right, finally, Chris Paul was back in the gym, in the lab, working out, as he waits to find out what's next after the Clippers sent him home last week. Mark, you reported last week that Paul would be open to moving to another team, even in the East. But as the next steps in CP3's basketball future are TBD, let's get into the time machine and look back at the anniversary of the biggest could-have-been moment in Paul's career. Let's flash back to SportsCenter and a Lakers trade that almost happened.
On the day that the NBA is officially open for business and training camps will open everywhere, the league involved in a major controversy. The 3-team deal that would have sent the Hornets' Chris Paul to the Lakers rejected by the league, which currently has ownership over the Hornets franchise. This reportedly after David Stern heard from other angry owners about the proposed deal. Now, here's the way it would have gone down according to sources. Lakers would have received Chris Paul. The Rockets would have got Pau Gasol. The Hornets would have ended up with 4 players and a draft pick, a package highlighted by Lamar Odom.
Shout out to Roflo there, Robert Flores, 14 years ago today, Mark. Now, you spoke to CP3. What did he tell you about what's going on with his career right now?
Well, in terms of this trade, before the season started, he told me that he had a great conversation with Kobe Bryant the night before it got voided. And at some point, he's going to relay that conversation on what he and Kobe talked about. He also said in terms of Kobe, he doesn't even think about him as gone. He just tries to put in his mind like he just hasn't talked to him in a long time.
Monica, how do you see Chris Paul's story ending here?
I hope not like this. I don't know. And I know, shout out to our producers. We've been thinking about it for a couple days about where would you want him to go. And it's a little bit complicated because at this point in his career, I don't know that a contender needs his help. And obviously, I think a large part of the legacy conversation around him is the championship that he's not yet necessarily gotten. So that's not a fit. I don't know that going to some of these other organizations and being an additional veteran sort of leader, is that placating a guy who deserves better? This one has been a really puzzling for me. The one team that I did think about, I got to keep thinking about it, was maybe an Atlanta. But again, you'd have to look and see what, do they have a guy they're willing to waive? Like, can that even be a real thing?
Luckily, we got Bobby here.
Okay, you mentioned the Atlanta Hawks. They are one of 10 teams that have a roster spot, and they're really the only team that's not impacted by the luxury tax or these apron rules and everything like that. I think it's going to be interesting. A week from now is December 15th. That's when this trade market is going to open up. Does the Clippers trade him? Is there a team out there? Certainly the team across the street here, the Lakers, have an open roster spot, but they can't sign a player until January 19th here. But as Mark was saying, it's not going to end with Chris Paul hitting the waivers and basically his career being over. I do think he'll be on a roster. I don't know if it's going to be in January or February, but sometime over the next few months.
Okay. Well, we'll certainly keep tabs on how this situation for the last 10 games due to a left calf strain. Stephon Castle for 9 with a hip flexor. Over that span in which both young stars have not been available, San Antonio has gone 6-3. By the way, Wemby last year on Christmas went 42-8.
Yeah, he did. He was goofy in the animated game, I think.
He was?
Oh, no, that might have been Cat. I messed that up.
It's okay. Now, joining us here, our reporter with the Spurs, Michael C. Wright. The Spurs face up the Pelicans tonight and have an NBA Cup quarterfinals matchup against the Lakers on Wednesday. So, Michael, What does the availability for Wemby and Castle look like for the Spurs' upcoming schedule?
Well, let me start with Stephon Castle, George. I talked to Stephon this morning, and he said he's 100% ready to go. He said, I'm feeling good right now. Now, I did ask him if there would be some type of minutes restriction because this is his first game back after missing 10 days or 10 games. And he said that he didn't know what the plan is as of right now, but he's ready to play those minutes if they, whatever it takes to win. Victor's a little more complicated because he's in a situation where, like, they really are looking towards playing him that Wednesday quarterfinal game in Los Angeles. But at the same time, if they win that game, they get 3 days off, right? If they lose that game, they get an additional 2 days off. So they're trying to weigh whether or not to play him there. And they want to win this NBA Cup, but not at the they don't want to risk injuring Vic, trying to do this. So this is a really interesting situation that I think we'll all have to pay close attention to here in the coming days.
And we know you will. And keep us posted on it. All right, Michael, thank you so much.
For sure.
All right. Milestone moment for James Harden Saturday against the Timberwolves with 34 points in the game. Harden moved past Carmelo Anthony for 10th on the all-time scoring list. Harden needs just another about 300 points or so to pass Shaquille O'Neal at 9th. Given his average of 27 points per game, Shaq will be moving down in about 11 contests. Time to take a look at the top of James Harden's career. All right, let's stop here. Top ankle breaker, 2015. Ricky Rubio broke his ankles. Yeah. Wes Johnson followed by the stare down.
Mohawk James Harden?
Yep, Wes Johnson right there. That's the one.